Thank you for joining me on board now. I am Olamide Adeyemi. Well, President Donald Trump has said he will permanently pause migration to the United States from all third world countries. The U.S. president wrote in a Truth Social post that the decision will allow the United States to fully recover from immigration policies that had eroded the gains and living conditions of many Americans. He did not provide details of his plan or name which countries may be affected in this decision. President Trump's comment come a day after an Afghan national was accused of shooting two members of the National Guard in Washington, D.C., one of whom has died. This and other announcements after the attack represent for the softening of his stance towards immigration, which has long been one of his key issues. Global Affairs analyst Ejike Okpa joins me to discuss the impact of this latest decision by the United States President. It's good to have you join us on the World Now.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's start with, what specific mechanisms or legal frameworks you think will be required for a United States President to permanently pause migration from, so-called third world countries.
Well, I don't think it's not a permanent issue. What the president is wanting to do is to review those green cards and see whether people who have received it and who made application are actually people who want to come to America and be Americans. Because what the green card actually means is, somebody that is permanently authorized, to be in the U.S. And that right to be in the U.S. Permanently can be revoked if there are concerns, about the behavior or the conduct of a person or a group of persons. I mean, we have seen in the past few years that many immigrants come here not just because they want to be Americans, they obviously come, they want to harm Americans. And I don't think any country will tolerate that kind of behavior. If you're a guest in somebody's house, immigration, by the way, Trump is not against immigration. He's talking about illegal immigration, people who come into this country under false pretenses and then turn around and start harming Americans or taking advantage of the system. Nobody wants that in their country. I came here legally. I came as a student and changed my status, and I'm a citizen. I've been a citizen for 30 years. So that's what Trump is trying to do. In the past administration, there was this come one, come all, and open door policy, and no country would do that. Back in the day in Nigeria, and 40-something years ago, when Ghanaians flooded Nigerians wake up one day and say, "Get the heck out of here," and that's what they had this Ghana must go thing. So every country integrity is preserved when there's a restriction as to who comes in and who goes out.
I mean, the conversation really is around the fact, there are questions as to whether this policy is realistically enforceable. And who are the major third world countries that you think will be affected by this, especially for the purpose of, such a migration pause?
Well, I mean, it's not so much about, third world country. I don't know where they see that, developing countries is a preferred expression. But the thing is, mostly people from those countries are usually the ones who come in and either they want, the system to take care of them, or they get angry if, their expectations are not being met, and then they turn around and start doing other things. It can be enforced, of course, America, there'll be challenges. There'll be groups that will challenge it in court, and it may end up in the Supreme Court. But the president has a right, through the authority and the constitutional things granted him to stop who comes into America. And they, just like any other country. So he's not saying, I mean, of course, he's mentioned 19 countries that these are going to be affected. What every country needs to do is, hey, begin to tell your people, because these people are going voluntarily. It's not like those countries are sending them. So they have to also make a statement and say, hey, these individuals are voluntarily leaving our country. It's not like the government of a country is packaging these people and sending them. That is where your foreign officers or diplomats and consulate people engage their American and say, hey, these are individuals. Yes, they come in as nationals of this country, but these countries are not responsible for what they do or, them coming here.
And there is this statement made by President Trump that, pausing this migration will help Americans live better. But what would you say is really the short or long-term effect of economic effects specifically of drastically halted or reducing immigration from developing countries, particularly on industries that rely on heavy labor for immigrants?
Well, I mean, we have Americans. I mean, if you go to most community, the Hispanic and the African Americans, so we still have, people that are, when you look at their conditions, you wonder, are they living in America? So what this is doing is take care of yourself before you take care of somebody else. I think self-preservation is the first order of business before anything else. If you can't preserve yourself, how are you going to be able to? So what he's doing, we've seen it since Trump has been in office the second term. It's not even 1 year. Immigration, illegal crossing from the southern border has reduced drastically, and Americans are beginning to say, I want the job that we thought, other people have to come and do, because there was this globalization mentality that America, by default got into, maybe 30, 40 years ago. So, we Americans don't do this job. That's why, we shipped a lot of things to China, and then look at what China is trying to do. So sometimes America generosity enables people to come after them, and that's not what we want. If you're going to help somebody, they should reciprocate and at least be nice to you and not try to undermine you. Example of that is China and so many other countries. So we're looking back at every of these regulations and rules and beginning to say, we got to cut down on this stuff. We have Americans to take care of. We have Americans that need these jobs. We're going to take care of them before anybody else. And those people coming in fact, I'm going to write the president, and as I said, before you come to America, if you get a visa, that should be what I call a covenant with America. You have to sign that at the embassy before you enter. Once your visa is granted, those covenants are given to you. You read it, and I say, this is what will happen to you if you go against America. And because right now, when you get a visa, you buy your ticket and you come. There's no orientation. We gotta start giving people orientations, and every country is supposed to do that as well. Before people come to your country, say, this is our culture, this is our rule. If you violate us, there are no court proceedings or for your benefit, we're going to throw you out. Barrier to entry.
Mr. Kwame, I'm still trying to understand what would have been the motive or the rationale behind the Afghan national who shot down the guard, because this kind of proves go straight to the argument about the fact that immigrants from some of these countries are the one affecting the U.S. security. What do you make of this? What could have been the motive?
Well, immigrants come here and they do all kinds of crime, but this is the first time in my own recollection, an immigrant group, an immigrant, I wouldn't say group, went out and killed a National Guard. It's like, you killed an American soldier, and that is just, it elevates the concern. If it was just, the other crime, no other crime is tolerated or should be allowed. But if you now go after a soldier that is in the Capitol doing the job that the president has ordered, then you have attacked America, and America is not going to take it lightly. I wouldn't, if I were the president, I would make sure that that person gets the punishment that they deserve. But again, this is what makes us go back to the drawing table and see where are the loose ends in our immigration things that we have to. But again, remember, human beings, are not cast in stone. They, somebody you think is good may turn around and be bad. So all we're going to do is, again, to say, will this be the end of such a thing? We don't know, because sometimes when things happen, other people get, oh, I can do that too. Because most people, it could be a mental issue, it could be an emotional issue, maybe the expectations they had, coming to America is not being met. This is not an easy country. I've been here for 30 years. I can tell you my own experience, but I came here to be an American, and I stopped with it. So other people come here thinking it's going to be better, and a bed of honey or a bed of roses. No, it's not easy. And when you have undue expectations, oftentimes you're going to set yourself up, to be mentally disturbed. And that is what is making immigrants come here and run amok.
I mean, there are questions around as to how this current immigration, sweep may affect the United Nations decision or relations with other countries that fall into this third world categories or developing nations like you described them. We'll wait out to see how that really works out for the U.S. Thank you for talking to us at this time. Global Affairs Analyst Ejike Okpa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.